anything. Fine, just give me a question. Right. Can you see? So we'll start first with that question Ming wanted to do last week. I know, she'll have to watch the video later. So she wanted the answer to this long division. Yeah? So we'll do that one for her and she can watch it later. 1 minus x divide into 1. So what do I write here? 1. And then 1 times 1 minus x is 1 minus x. And then I subtract x. And then what do I need here? X. X times 1 gives me the x, but x times minus x is x squared. Now I think we can all see what's going to happen. What's next? And then the next one will be cubed and so on. Now the closest thing I can think of in numbers is when you have a question like this. Keeps going.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of a similar example of this.
Concept.
Yeah. Okay. That was Ming's question. So Ming, that one is for you. All right. Now, next, what do we want to see? Yeah, okay. Yesterday's 5A.
Yes, my home
Now, let me see. We had Abdul Rahman, and we had Aoife, and we had Kehong, who have the 3 equations. Were any of you able to solve it?
Yeah, I solved it.
Good, okay, that's 1. Rahman? No. Aoife? No, okay. See, you were talking big yesterday, Aoife. You were saying that you'd definitely be able to solve it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in that way, not in this way.
Oh, okay. Rahman was being a bit more conservative. You were saying maybe not. Yeah, okay. So let's have a look at 5A. And what was the question? It was something like Px plus Q, was it? Yeah, let me just fix this here. Px plus Q power n equals minus 48 x squared, and it continues. Okay, so just to make things a little easier, I'll say the left-hand side is px plus q power n, and the right-hand side is minus 64 minus 96x minus 48x squared. So the right-hand side is fine. I mean, there's nothing I can do to it, okay? But I can do something to the left-hand side. What can I do to the left-hand side? I can expand it. Yeah. So the left-hand side, I'll expand. So that will be NC0 PXQ plus NC1 PXQ plus NC2 PXQ. Now, what power do I put on the PX? 0, and here n. Here 1, and here n minus 1 here, 2, and here n minus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify each of them one by one. Okay, so the first one, I'll take the first one, and then I'll have a look at that by itself. No, I'll just write. I don't need to. I'll just write it under here in red. So NC0, that's the first number in the row, and we know something about the first number in the row. It's always 1. And then PX0, 1. And so I'm left with QN. Oh yeah, I won't do that part just yet. Now let's look at the next one. NC1 we know is n, because the next number in any Pascal's triangle row is always the row number, which we said. So that's n. And this will be Px, Q, n minus 1. Now this next one here, NC2, what I'm going to do is first simplify NC2, which I'll do as a side problem. So NC2 is n factorial over 2 factorial n minus 2 factorial.
Yeah.
So n factorial is n times times, yeah, etc. 2 factorial is 2. And n minus 2 factorial is n minus 2, n minus 3, etc. Cancel, 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 cancel. What am I left with? N squared minus n over 2. So if I go back to my question, I can replace this with n squared minus n over 2, and here px squared q n minus 2. Now, before I continue, I'll give you a moment to write this much down.
How many subjects does someone do in university?
In university?
Yeah.
Usually about 6 classes, like 6 different subjects. Yes? What's wrong with you?
Well, but like the same physics, math, chemistry.
No,
That depends
that's
on
what
which
they're doing.
professor.
You know?
Okay, so for example, let's say electrical engineering.
Electrical engineering, I would expect 1 lesson for labs, 1 lesson on maths, 1 lesson on physics, maybe then 1 lesson on like materials or something like this, you know. Maybe 1 lesson on lab writing. I don't know. Something like this.
Thank you.
Now, can I scroll down? No, not yet.
Wait.
Can I have the calculator for a second, Bella? Just check something. Thank you. Okay, can I continue? Yeah, so the next step here is you say the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. So by comparing this one here, what should that equal? Qn should equal minus 64. And the next one is NPQ n minus 1, that should equal minus 96. I won't bother writing the x in, I'm just comparing the coefficients, okay? And n squared minus n over 2 p squared qn minus 2, what should that equal? Minus 48. Now you might think, if you look here, you could just guess the answer. Right, Aoife? Yeah? So what might you guess here for Q and N? for which? N is 3 and Q is, I think minus 8, is it? Minus 4. Right? Anybody? Oh, great, I got the answer. Well, maybe the answer was this. Or I could have guessed N is 5. And that Q is minus 2.297. And that equals minus 64. So, like, I mean, yeah, infinite answers. Yeah. Now you see, I can tell Aoife doesn't believe me, so I know right now she's typing in minus 2.297 power 5. Yeah, okay.
No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no, you sure? Okay. So, look, anyways, that's what I was saying yesterday. Now, I know this example, okay, you might say, well, Stephen, come on, the answers have to be integers. Well, I never said that in the question. And anyways, the guessing worked because there was a minus here, okay? If I said Qn equals 64, you have a few choices. You could say 8 squared. You could say 2 power 5. And I think you could just say 4 cubed. Anyways, you get the idea that you actually...
Actually, they said in the question that Q is less than 0.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you that it's an integer. So how does that help? Do you know what I mean? Like I said, what did I say? I could say minus 4 cubed, or I could say minus 2.297 5. Just because Q is negative was not helpful here. So anyways, I hope you can see why we can't guess here. I hope. So we need a way to solve this. So what I'll do, I'll just clean these equations up a little bit. I'll say Q power n equals minus 64. That's equation 1. When I look here, I'll say that's np Q power n over Q. Now, Q power n minus 1 is Qn over Q. Don't worry if you didn't know that. We're going to have a lesson on that later. That's equal to minus 96. That's equation 2. And then equation 3 is n squared minus n over 2 times p squared times qn over, what's that? Q squared. That's equation 3. But actually what I'm going to do to make my life even easier, instead of saying p squared, oh sorry, I have to say what it's equal to, don't I? Equal to minus 48. Instead of saying p squared and q squared, I'm going to say p over q squared. Now, the reason I did that is because here I have p over q, and here I have p over q as well. I'll just put them in brackets. Right. You might look at this and say, oh my goodness, how am I going to solve these 3 equations?
Yeah, this equals 1 over 3.
I know how to solve it. So it's okay. Okay. You know, I have 2 masters. So I can solve this, don't worry. Now, so how can we solve this? Well, yes, no, I know. Goodness, just give me a chance to say it. Right, so you notice that in equation 2, you have q power n. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And in equation 3, you have q power n. Right?
Yeah.
But in equation 1, you have q power n. And what's q power n supposed to equal? Minus 64. You can sub that result into equation 2 and 3. So you get n times p over q times, what did we say, minus 64 equals minus 96. And now we have n squared minus n over 2 times p over q squared. And what's q power n? Minus 64. That's equal to minus 48. So I'll divide by minus 64, and I get n p over q equals, I think that's 3 over 2 when you divide. And my second equation now is n squared minus n over 2 p over q squared. And is that 2 over 3 when you divide?
3 over 4.
3 over 4, thank you. 3 over 4. Okay, well, we've gone from 3 equations to 2 equations, so we've improved by 33%. Now, what is in common with the first equation and the second equation? Very good, P over Q. So I'll take the second equation and I'll just say P over Q equals 3 over 2n. Yes? And I'll sub that into the other equation. So now I get n squared minus n over 2 times, oh sorry, I wrote n here, I should have written squared. 3 over 2n squared equals 3, 4. Now I have 2 equations and now I have 1 equation with only one unknown. What unknown here? N. And when we rearrange this, what type of equation do you think we'll end up with in the end? A quadratic, because we can see that we have n squareds in it. Yeah? So, I'll zoom out again. Right, let's solve this. What have I got on the top? I have n squared minus n times 9, isn't it? Over 2 times 4n squared equals 3 over 4. Now, I'll get, if I cross multiply, wait, I know I can cancel here. 3 goes into 3. 3 goes into 3, not 3 times, not 2 times, but 1 time. And 3 goes into 9? 3 times, okay. 2 goes into 2? Once. And 2 goes into 4? Twice, yeah, okay, good. Is this, what number did I have here? A 4, okay. 2 goes into 2? Okay, and 2 goes into 4? Very good, don't work too hard. Now, I'll bring the 2 up to the right, and here I have n squared minus n. What do I do next?
It's just supposed to be 2n squared, not just...
Oh, thank you, Bello. That should have been n squared here, which I'll also bring up.
Where did the 3 go?
Where did what go?
3.
Oh, thank you. Goodness me. 3n squared minus 3n equals 2n squared. So now I get n squared minus 3n equals 0. So I have n times n minus 3 equals 0. Could n be 0? No. So n equals 3. Then we can sub that back into the first one. And we could get q. Q equals minus 4. No, minus 4. I know. But you can get the right answer for the wrong reason, you know? And then P equals, if I sub it, where will I sub it? P over Q equals 3 over 2n. So P is equal to 3Q over 2n. What did I say Q was?
Minus 4.
Minus 4. So that's minus 12. And n is,
3.
so that's a, yeah, so minus 2 then, is it? Right, so that's the answer then. Yeah? Okay. Oh, I'll let you write that down.
Up a bit.
Come on, man. Why do you keep falling asleep in my class? What? What? Your brain is working so hard it's running out of energy. What's the reason? Do you have breakfast? No breakfast. What time do you go to bed at? 10? And what time do you wake up at?
6.
Okay, so you had enough sleep. So are you low on energy? Why do you have no breakfast?
I was something happened like I didn't know that my house where I was staying, like I'm still like in the middle of still like football pitch. I'm staying where I'm staying, there are a lot of trees and stuff, so like there are animals.
Dude, why did you not have breakfast?
That's what I want to explain.
I mean, you could have just gone to the canteen this morning before class, right?
Yeah,
Or Spar, or
I came
Tesco.
very early, so then the whole building was locked.
So you couldn't find any place in Dublin this morning that sold food?
No, already in school. I didn't want to start traveling again. Already in school this morning. I wanted to open this door, like, to just say it's my biscuit or something. But, like, the door was locked.
So
Like,
you,
the entrance, so I couldn't enter.
you could only eat your biscuit inside a classroom. You couldn't eat it outside a
You know
classroom.
why I don't eat? Everybody knows me, I don't eat in class.
I just didn't I have to ask you to finish eating before you asked me a question?
No, normally, even when I don't eat in class, like, I'm very...
So did I just imagine you with your mouth full of something when you were
No,
asking me a question?
I had to because, like, I wasn't like my eyes, I was getting weak, so I just didn't.
Okay, okay,
That
okay.
was all.
Okay. What's the next question after this?
This question in exam, so how many?
It won't be. It won't be.
Won't be.
Thank God for past 16.
Hey, it might be actually. Yeah, it's a long question.
Yeah, 20 marks.
No, not that much. There's no question more than 15. What's next? No, still writing this, okay. Right, what's next now? Or there was no other problems? No? You're all mathematical geniuses? No other problems?
Sorry, in the quadratic and cubic equation, linear and the shading. Can you please explain how the shading is done once?
Can you give me which question?
Number 4B.
On what page? What's the lesson? The
Quadratic and cubic equations, linear and quadratic inequality.
4B, is it?
The shading.
Yeah, 4B, okay. Guys, I'm going to do this one now. We have minus 7 x squared minus 41 x minus 63 less than or equal to minus x squared. Now it's our choice. Do we want to move everything to the left or the right at the start? Which would you prefer? Well, I prefer the right because it'll make everything positive then. Yeah, so that becomes 6x squared plus 41x plus 63.
7
Move the others at 5. Oh, okay.
Alright. Now, what you do next, Bello, is you solve this quadratic, and in fact you can use the quadratic formula if you like. So what two values do we get?
Minus 9 over 12 over 7
Minus what?
9 over 2 and minus 7 over 3.
Minus 9 over 2 and minus 7 over 3. Yeah? Is that right? I'm waiting for feedback. Is that right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. There's our quadratic. Now, are we looking above or below? No, above. Because here, we are more than 0. That means above. Which part of the quadratic is above the axis? Is this part on the right above or below? Above. And in here, above or below? And here? Above. So we want this piece and this piece. We want the x to be here or here. So the x goes from minus infinity up until minus 9 over 2, or from minus, what was that? 7 over 3 to infinity. And that's the answer. Yeah.
5A.
5A. Okay. I'll just let people write that down. Okay, you got that? Yes? Now, let's look at 5A. It's good in 5A to split it into two problems. So first we'll look at this problem. 71 less than or equal to 2x squared plus 20x plus 49. Yeah? Yeah. Right, so what'll I do first? Well, I'll take the 71 to the right, won't I?
Yes.
So that's 0, 2x squared plus 20x, and then 49 minus 71? 22, is it? Okay, and I don't have to, but I could divide everything by 2. And 11 and 1 is the answers here? Is that right? Oh yeah, sorry. Minus 11 and 1 then. And do I want to be above or below? Above. Which is here and here. Now here's the interesting part. In the question though,
Minus 11 and 1 give you
are the solutions.
minus 11 and 1 give you plus 10.
No, this is right, isn't it? Yeah. X needs to be a natural number including 0. So are any of these x values any good?
No.
No, why not? They're not, yeah. What about here?
Yes.
Yes. What is the first possible answer here? 1. And the next possible answer? 2, 3, etc. to infinity. These are all possible answers. You can actually test this. If you put in 1, 2, 3, etc., you will discover the quadratic is more than 0. Okay? Now, before I continue, I'll just let you write that much down. So this is like part 1. Now on to part 2. Got that? Yeah, continue. Now, part 2. The second inequality here is 2x squared plus 20x plus 49 is less than or equal to 97. So if I bring the 97 to the left, what do I get? Minus 56, is it?
Minus 48.
Oh yeah. Less than or equal to 0. X squared plus 10x minus 24 less than or equal to 0. And what are the two solutions here? 12 and 2? Minus? No, minus 12 and 2. And there's my quadratic. And do I want to be above or below? Below. Less than 0. So I want to be here. But remember, x is a natural number. So I can't use all of these, can I? I can only start using answers when? When I get to 0. And then 1. And then 2. So this one here, the answer is 0, 1, 2. But not 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just stops at 2. Now, I'll let you write that down, and then we need to combine the answers. Okay, did you write that down? Now, I want to know, now don't just answer this yet, there's two possibilities here. We could say the answer from 1 and the answer from 2. In other words, we have to say that, or maybe it's the answer from 1 or the answer from 2. Now just think for a few seconds before you tell me, which is the right way to combine the answers here? Is it the 1 answers and the 2 answers? Or do we say the 1 answers or the 2 answers? Yeah. It's 1 and 2. Because we need 1 to be true, don't we? We need the quadratic to be more than 71, yes? But also, we need the quadratic to be less than 97. So it's not 1 or 2, but rather it's 1 and 2. So what did answer 1 say? Answer 1 said x could be 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.
Yes.
What did answer 2 say?
0.
X could be 1 or 2. Oh, 0, 1 or 2, wasn't it? But we need to combine these now. We need to figure out what the x finally is so that 1 can be true and 2 can be true. Just 1 and 2. Only solutions 1 and 2 will make 1 be true and 2 be true at the same time. Okay? And I want you to Can I scroll down? Yeah. What was the quadratic again? 2x squared plus 20x plus 49. Right, I want you to take out your calculators and I want you to tell me what you get if x is minus 1, 0, 1, 2 and 3, for example. So what do we get for the quadratic? So hang on. Wait, we'll make this quicker. Wait, stop, pause. You can do minus 1, you can do 0, you can do 1, you can do 2, and you can do 3. Okay, whoever got 0 had an easy job then. Right, 0 is 49, okay, yeah. 31, okay. 1 is
It's a
71.
It's 2ax, right?
2x squared plus 20x plus 49. X is whatever it was, 3 for you. What's 2? What is it? 97. Too slow. And what's 3? 127. Okay, and remember we said we need this to be less than 71 and to be, more than 71 and less than 97. So for example, oh, and also we said x has to be a natural number. So is x a natural number here when it's minus 1?
Yes.
No.
Is minus 1 a natural number?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, that aside, is 31 more than 71 and less than 97? No. And is it a natural number?
Yes.
Is minus 1 a natural number? No, okay. If I know that, okay. So that's no good. What about when x is 0? Will the quadratic be more than, is 49 going to work? Is 49 in between these? No. Now what about 71? 71 is more than or equal to 71 and less than or equal to 97. So that works. What about 97? That works. Just about. What about 127? No. And the next one, no. And the next one, no. So you can see only x could be 1 or 2. Only those values of x will make the inequality true. Yeah. And by the way, if I made some tiny change, if I made this problem, what would the answer be?
Just
Nothing. There's no answer.
No answer. Because even 1 gives you 71, which actually doesn't work anymore. And 2 would give you 97, which doesn't work anymore. So in that case, there would be no answer. I would have to change x into something like this. If I did change x to be a real number, what would the answer be? Who can see what the answer would be if I said x was a real number? Everything between 1 and 2, not including 1 and 2. Yeah. Some of you can see that. You can see that? Remember, if we go back earlier, if you visualize here, why did we pick 1 and 2 and not everything between 1 and 2? Natural numbers. But if it was a real number, then this would be not the answer. It instead would have been everything between 0 and 2. Wouldn't it? And then the first one, what would that have been? If I said x could be a real number. Let's keep it easy. Let's say it's real and positive. Then what would it be here? 1 to infinity. So 1 to infinity and 0 to 2. If we put those answers together, what do we get? 1 to 2. Okay? So in that case, when it was a real number, it's between 1 and 2. Now, this is a very advanced question, likely too difficult for the exam. You should be able to do questions 1 to 4, but number 5 is very advanced, and really, I don't expect them to ask that in the exam. It's been too difficult. Okay? Right, yeah, I think that's a good time to wrap it up then. So we'll wrap it up there.